Of course, their work was a reaction to the Age of Enlightenment and their emphasis on logic and science. They did have a tendency to wallow in their emotions.
Wallow?
Ah, now you've done it.
Look, I don't disapprove. I've spent many a happy hour delving into the works of Keats, Shelley, Blake.
Haven't we all?
With that, I shall love you and leave you. I have a yen for some baklava, so it's Baklava Terrace for me. Oh, Baklava Terrace.
Talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
The talk of the street.
Talk of the street.
Hello and welcome to episode 350 of The Talk of the Street, an unofficial Coronation Street catch-up podcast that wonders if Rob is more likely to die from an infection in his month-old wound or shitting himself inside out from lactose intolerance. I'm Gavin.
And I remain cancer-free.
Hurrah!
Huzzah!
Huzzah! Good news.
Absolutely.
You finally got your heart's desire.
Yes.
A camera up your bum.
Yes. And a nice snap.
How much do you love the anaesthetic nap?
Yeah, just call me Michael Jackson.
He.
That's the only way he could sleep. And it killed him.
Oh, is that what killed him?
Yeah. I don't know. I'm kind of worried that I'm building up a tolerance. Because this last time, I was up and I was fine and I wasn't even groggy.
I think they must have just given you a more realistic dose. Because they've given you enough to knock out a camel before.
That's true.
And this was, I don't know, you came around much, much quicker than normal.
I did. Yes. So one polyp removed, but not cancerous. So I'm good for another 5 years.
5 years, that takes us to 2030, and that is terrifying.
It is terrifying. Stelly will be out of college. Or nearly out of college.
Yeah, and Benny will probably be thinking about moving out.
He's going to play the soccer in Canada again this weekend. I told him he should just stay.
Oh, is he? That's just what passes for encouragement in this house. Stay in Canada then.
Well, I'd rather he stay in Canada and play soccer than, be drafted to fight Canada in like 6 months.
The Maple Wars.
Oh dear.
I feel like we're not really trying to get into anything that's remotely upbeat.
No, being cancer-free is upbeat.
The threat of cancer isn't, though.
Yes. Also, making a joke about the death of Michael Jackson's probably...
Yeah, it's niche, I'll give you that.
It is niche. How are you this week?
I'm alright. I found out where my Ginger Chesney hitting himself in the face with Brick Day wig went.
Yes, it went to school with Stelly on St. Patrick's Day.
Stelly fitting every possible Irish stereotype.
It's okay, she's Irish.
No, she's not.
She's 50% Irish.
Took my Chesney wig to school with her, just in case.
Just in case.
An emergency break glass wear wig. And it seemingly went down a storm.
Apparently it did.
I don't know yet if she hit herself in the face with a brick.
No,
I don't
probably
think she
not. That's not an Irish thing to do.
You obviously don't know many Irish people. Did you go to the Temple Bar when you were in Dublin?
Yes.
So you are a tourist then?
Not by choice.
Fair
I
enough.
also went to see the Book of Kells. So I'm that kind of Irish tourist.
I'll give you that.
Who goes to the Trinity Library and stares at the Book of Kells and feels a overwhelming mystic feeling of being in touch with one's ancestry.
Very good. This is episode 350 of this podcast. We reached episode 150 of our other podcast last week.
What?
And forgot to make a big deal of it.
How is that even possible that we've done list of lists for 150
Well,
episodes?
we did 100 episodes of The Rolling Stone and we did 50 episodes of the Oscars, more or less.
Wow.
So I guess that's how that happens.
Look at us. Look
Indeed.
at us.
All right, on that note, shall we preamble, my dear?
Yes, please.
Give us some of that Irish Corrie news.
Shubna Gulati, who played Sunita Alhan on the show, has come out as non-binary, and I say good for them. Well done for coming out as non-binary as a 58-year-old person. They said that they'd always felt like they were somewhere in between, but they didn't have the words for it. And then they were talking to a non-binary person in the crew of the show that they're currently working on and said, yes, that's exactly how I feel. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, good for them.
Don't put the pitchforks away yet, folks. Corrie's schedule next week will once again be affected by the sport, with Monday's episode not airing until Tuesday.
This is because of soccer ball?
I feel like it's still rugby. Wasn't last week rugby?
No, I don't think so. This week was soccer ball. Because England was playing Albania or something.
Oh, yeah, and they're playing Latvia next week.
Here we go.
Yeah,
So it's on Tuesday,
Yes.
Wednesday and Friday next
you
week.
won't see it till Tuesday, but unfortunately, Amy Mann won't be there.
And nor will we on Friday.
Next week, we're going to see Stephen Page on Friday.
Stephen
So-
Page, you may remember from getting kicked out of Bare Naked Ladies
Yes.
for doing drugs.
Yes, exciting. We get to go see him in his solo act, which I hear is quite
him.
good.
I haven't seen him solo, but I did enjoy his first debut solo album, predictably called Page One.
Yes,
It was very good.
yes. So, yes, this is your Christmas present.
Yeah. Hello, April.
And finally, Luca Tulin, our poor dead Mason, has landed on his feet shooting a TV comedy pilot with his dad, famous DJ Mike Tulin. Did you know that was his dad?
Yeah, I think we've talked about it.
Probably. The pilot is called Grassroots, and it looks like it'll be a fun time. I don't know. I've never successfully worked with a member of my family before, so I hope.
I've never tried.
Yeah, I think this is the closest I've ever come to successfully working with someone I'm related to, and it's by marriage. Yes.
This sort of works, I guess.
More than sort of.
Well, 500 episodes of mediocre podcasts would certainly indicate so.
Why would you call us mediocre?
I'm downplaying it.
Yeah.
I'm British.
You are. It's over 500 episodes of awesome podcasts that bring cheer to people the world over. And that's Corrie News.
And a Merry Christmas, one and all. And that takes us on to our feedback section that I like to call Everyone's a Critic. I thought I heard a new noise in there, but I think it was a bird outside.
Yes, there is a bird out. It's spring now, so we have birdies.
The birds have come back from their holidays,
Yes.
and they're in a raucous mood.
Yes.
Anyway, Joy writes in...
They're all very horny.
Joy writes in, commenting on the Berlin Darkroom episode from a couple of weeks ago. First, being a Canadian, I'm always listening a few weeks behind. Second, as a Canadian, we don't hate Americans, just your big orange Cheeto leader. Lastly,
Aw.
and most importantly, I know that after watching a week of ridiculous episodes, I can listen to the two of you and be entertained and have many laughs and love your observations.
Aw.
Love the podcast.
Thank
you very much, Joy.
Thank you very much. We hate him too. I guess we shouldn't say that too loudly.
I'll try to keep that out of this.
They might try to deport you.
Yeah, I've got more to lose than you have.
It's true.
Then Neve writes, I love that Maureen Lipman can rock up to Corrie whenever she feels like it, decline any hair and makeup, wear her own clothes and glasses, and then just knock out a few scenes. She knows how to wield power at ITV. Indeed she does.
Absolutely.
Stephen writes, I am salivating like Homer Simpson at the thought of reading more from both of you. If I can delude myself into thinking we'll get The Winds of Winter one day, I can wait patiently for your next books. I'll be the first pre-order. Insert meme of Philip J. Fry saying, shut up and take my money here. Thank you very much, Stephen.
Aw, very nice. Yes. If you know any agents, let them know.
Sean writes, Been away for a week in Turkey having a makeover surgery, so I didn't see Corrie. The only thing that kept me sane was you two and helping with my recovery. Couple of things I noticed catching up. Why did Lisa knock on her own front door when they were robbed? And there's no chemistry whatsoever between Adam and Alia. Oh, well, yeah.
No, I kind of think there's some.
I think there was more before she went off.
That's true. Babies change you.
Why bring Julie back just to kill her off? Goodbye, Yasmin. That was quick, but be good to see Leanne with a new job and storyline. Another example of Betsy knows best, and Lisa says Rob had been inside for armed robbery. I thought it was murder.
Yeah,
It was murder.
It was murder.
Keep up my very favourite podcast with my favourite hilarious people. Love from Sharon, British Not Racist. Thank you very much, Sharon.
Thank you very much.
Charles writes, and Carla goes to try and identify the body of some random who, obviously, no one had thought to examine for a recent kidney extraction scar.
Right. Yes.
Indeed.
Yes. Or, a photograph from when he's been in prison, and I'm sure they have some mug shots somewhere.
I'm sure the inquest later will say the signs were there. Ian writes, Ian Les Paul, that is.
And his wife.
There was further talk about Gav's accent last week. I recently reheard some old recordings of Ivor Cutler. Gav to a T? I wonder if Cutler came from the same region of Scotland as our hero. I think I'm the hero.
You are.
The humour is similar also. Oh dear. Gav, write a stage play about Ivor Cutler and star in it. He deserves to be more widely known. Don't just sit there. Get on with it, man.
Aha.
Well, that's me told.
That's you told.
This is Ivor Cutler. I had to look him up.
Is he indeed from Cairn Shore?
No, he's Glaswegian, but... This is from his piece called Shoplifters.
He plays the accordion better than you.
It's not playing the accordion.
What is it?
It's a city down thing.
Oh.
Is your shop right down on the ground?
It's a Hammond organ.
Then let us lift it for you.
That's Ivor Cutler.
There's plenty of room in the blue.
Doesn't look like you.
Doesn't look like me. I don't know if it sounds like me.
For you.
I think maybe I'll eventually sound like that. But it does sound like a more posh Glaswegian than a Glaswegian.
Yes.
So,
I don't know.
Maybe.
I haven't heard you sing recently.
Shoplifters. I guess it does sound a little bit like it.
Yeah, I think your voice is a little deeper.
I'm just skipping over the whole write a screenplay thing. Or write a stage play thing. Or maybe I should.
You should.
Do you know what, Ian Les Paul? I'm going to look into the life of Ivor Cutler and see if there's a story there.
Yeah.
There's definitely a Hammond organ.
Right. And a hat.
I've
Is that
got a
a
hat.
turban?
It's a little... I don't know how to describe it.
It's like a headscarf.
Yeah.
Well, that is like a nightcap, but this thing at the top, that's something different entirely.
Yeah, God knows what that is.
No.
All right.
All right.
Let's move on.
Yes.
Chica writes, I have very little to say about this week's Coronation Street because most of it was rubbish. The good parts were Cassie and Evelyn's two-hand conversations. Evelyn finally showing deeper sympathy for Cassie was delightful. I also loved when Daisy was trying to get Kit to open up and express himself. The last real powerful thing was Eileen getting a chance to tell Julie how her death was going to impact her. Other than that, every decision Tracy made was stupid, and every decision that Dylan made was stupid too, because he should have known better from his previous experience. I'm hoping for better next week. Aren't we all? Although I actually didn't mind it too much this week.
No, I mean, the Rob stuff is dumb, but we'll get to that.
Yeah. Thank you to Cheeky, to Ian Les Paul, to Charles, to Sharon, to Stephen, to Neve, and to Joy for writing in this week. We appreciate it as always. Feedback's welcome. Send us your thoughts and I'll probably read it out. Get us at thetalkofthestreet@gmail.com, or our DMs are open at Corrie Podcast, and we love it when people write actual letters to us. Send us your proper mail to the
And
Talk of the
send us
Street.
chocolate.
PO Box 12, Eaton Rapids, Michigan 48827. Please note that we reserve the right to edit feedback, but only in the interests of brevity. And I checked the PO Box today, and it was empty.
Oh, boo.
And now let's podcast for coffee. Thanks to Jen for our coffees this week.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Jen writes, hope you guys are keeping well.
We are.
Thank you very much. Jen, noticing that we probably have a lot to get through this week, keeping it nice and short.
Yes.
We appreciate it. Thank you very much, Jen. And thank you for buying us our coffees this week. Although this week I am drinking my Peace Tea Just Peachy peach tea.
Yes, and I'm
which
drinking.
is delicious. And I am getting into tea again.
Yeah, I noticed that you bought a box of Tetley when we still have PG Tips.
That's to take to work. That is to take into my work.
The Tetleys?
Yes.
Okay.
Because
I was
it's
like,
just Lipton at work and
Why
it's minging.
Why did he buy this? We have PG Tips.
I bought the Tetley for work.
Okay.
Loving a cup of tea.
Yeah, tea's good.
Oh,
It's better for you too.
it is.
Yes.
Full of oxidants. Or something. The Talk of the Street is and will always be free on your podcast provider and on the YouTubes, but if you think our show is worth anything more than the time it takes to listen to it, and if you want to show your appreciation, you can buy us next week's coffee by going to ko-fi.com, that's ko-fi.com/the Talk of the Street. You can also sign up to be a friend of the podcast through the same link where for as little as $2 a month. You can get a mention in the closing credits of each and every episode. And if Ko-Fi isn't your thing, we also have a Patreon site where you can show us some love. Sign up to be a friend of the podcast there at patreon.com/the Talk of the Street. But remember, you can always support the show for free. Get us in front of new listeners by liking, subscribing, rating and reviewing wherever you get your podcasts.
By the way, I'm drinking ruby red grapefruit juice. Thank you for asking.
I didn't ask.
It's good for the liver.
It is good for the liver. Shall we dive in, my dear?
Yes, please.
Our first storyline tonight is, Sister, can you spare a baby? Yeah. On Monday, Roy is walking Freddie and bumps into Eddie. And that sounds like the start of a song.
Yeah.
Or Ed. Roy is sporting a lovely new haircut and asks Ed to pop round later to help assemble a playpen for Frankie. It'll have to wait, says Ed. I'm busy up to secret squirrel stuff. Helen, if you were thinking that no Max meant no more racist Kelly, think again.
Yeah, I never thought that.
I did. Well, maybe I hoped.
Really? Because, like, she's been integrated into other storylines, like that time that she sat with Dylan and talked him through prison. Remember that?
Yeah, that worked out pretty
And
well,
said-
didn't it?
said-
Just smile, she said. Just smile.
I'm racist Kelly, by the way. And he's like, yeah, I know.
Frankie's in hospital again, and racist Kelly's getting all maudlin about the future that they don't have because of Max trying to burn down number 8. But she is somewhat grateful that Dee Dee visits her to show off her bump. Back home, though, Ed has a surprise for Dee Dee. It's her fucking brother with a new head.
Yes.
It's James 2.0
And slightly taller.
and a good bit older.
A wee bit older, yeah.
That London's aged him. Let's just put it that
Right,
way.
yes. And he's not going to be sticking around for very long. So, you know, they didn't try very hard.
He's still gay, though.
Yes.
That's the main thing.
Yes.
Ed's looking pretty pleased with himself. James is in town for a couple of nights and is very interested in Dee Dee's pregnancy and to hear that she's using her baby as an organ factory for Frankie. He's up for a coaching job in the States, apparently.
Yes. Run away, James. Run away.
Nothing good can come from this.
Do not come here.
Apparently Danny's already here.
Yes. Do you know what they do to black gay people here? That's 2 strikes against you. Black, gay, and not American.
Keeping it light. Dee Dee gets a text from racist Kelly demanding to see her at the hospital, so Dee Dee drops everything, including her catch-up with her brother, and fucks off. At the hospital, racist Kelly just seemed to be in the mood to worry about Frankie some more, but eventually tells Dee Dee that the hospital have found another match, so she won't be needing Dee Dee or her baby anymore, so thanks.
Thanks for carrying this child you didn't want just for me. But
Well, who would have thought that the hospital conducting a search would find someone?
Yeah. Did you find the introduction of new James as hilarious as I did? Where he had that pot of flowers like right in front of his face.
He did.
And then we go to Ronnie and Dee Dee's faces as the flowers are lifted and they both go, James! So
'Cause of
that
the-
we know that that's who that is. Why they didn't think to do something like this with poor Harry,
Mm-hmm.
who I'm still not used to.
That's what they'd always do. When Summer changed head Everyone in the street said her name at least 3 times. Oh, there's Summer over there. Is that Summer tying her shoelaces? That's Summer.
Yeah. She didn't have a giant flower
Look-
pot in front of her head,
Look at
though.
Summer. Yeah, but with Harry, it was just, who the fuck is that wee boy? And why is he
Running
just
around
wandering
the
into the
house.
kitchen? Is he a ghost? Because no one seems to be reacting. But no, this time we're, James! It's James! Everyone, you remember James? James looks like this now, said Ronnie. Yeah, I did laugh.
Yes.
To answer your question.
Yes, thank you.
Dee Dee pretends that she's fine about this and tells racist Kelly not to worry about her or her feelings that she's just crushed. Later, the Baileys all head to speed dial, but Dee Dee's not feeling up to it.
Right,
Goes-
yes. You're very pregnant. Let's try to stuff a curry in you.
She goes home despite Ed wanting to discuss something with her. And it's James that follows her home, and Dee Dee explains about racist Kelly and how that's left her and her pregnancy without purpose. New James tells her that she needs to have faith, like he did, which has been proved because he got that job in the U States of A after all.
Run away.
Later, James takes a secret call from Danny. James hasn't broached the secret subject yet. This is going to take time. Danny will have to wait. On Tuesday, James is trying to impress Dee Dee by making her breakfast and also by being 10 years older than he was when he left.
And an inch taller.
With that done, he suggests that he and Danny adopt her unborn baby. This is him taking time to breach the subject.
Right, yes.
Dee Dee is far from impressed about this,
Yeah, no.
thinking that his return was all a ploy. James insists that he and Danny are gagging to adopt, and it might as well be hers. And it's like, really? 'Cause
Really?
This has never been mentioned. And
Yeah.
why would it be, I guess, because he's never been in the
Right,
show.
yes, because he's not on the show. They're not married yet, so they haven't fully committed to one another yet, but they're fully committed to having a baby, which is a more than lifetime commitment.
I have just got a text from Stella that says, Mr. Gav, that's me,
Yes,
is Mama awake or is she asleep?
I am awake, but I don't have my phone with me.
She is awake and podcasting successfully. Oh, and now here she is on the phone. Yes,
Mr. Gav,
yes.
can I have a sleepover at Grant's house with Izzy? And Grant.
Can you have a
is
what now?
there. Can I sleep
She
over
wants
at
she wants
Grant's
to sleep
house
over
with Izzy?
at Grant's house with Izzy.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
Okay, thank yous.
Grant's gay. It's fine.
Have fun doing your little podcast.
We will.
You're on it.
Oh, good. Good stuff.
Bye then.
Okay, bye-bye.
That was Stelly.
It was Stelly. Sleeping over at Grant's house with Izzy.
Yeah, he is gay though.
He is.
Yeah.
You've met this child. You know
I can
he's
never
gay.
remember which one is gay.
It's
No,
Grant.
I think they're all gay. So Dee Dee doesn't think it could work as she couldn't handle watching it grow up. James says
That's
that
the whole point of this adoption.
he's moving to America though, so she wouldn't have to.
That's bullshit.
Talking-
She's your sister.
Right. Talking
You're never going to see one another for the rest of your lives. You're not going to be on your one another's social media, etc. Mm-hmm. What the hell is wrong with you?
talking to Ronnie about this later, he tends to agree, and the bottom line is that Dee Dee doesn't want them raising Joel's demon spawn. Ronnie says that she knows best, but then mentions how Ed called James and told him about the baby situation. I don't know why he said that. So Dee Dee storms to the Rovers and casts this up that James's return was purely baby related thanks to their conspiring. Ed is unapologetic as it means that he's going to lose his grandkid
Shut up.
and worries that Dee Dee will regret this sooner or later.
You'll get more.
He's got one
Yeah.
and he's never with her.
No. Yeah. Where is Michael and Glory, by the way? Where have they gone?
She sees it as he's insisting on forcing her to be in Joel's demon offspring's life. Ronnie, who now claims to know nothing about any of this, is enraged at Ed and James. Debbie makes sure Dee Dee gets home and tells her none of this is anyone's business but hers, but her family are only doing what they thought best. Dee Dee knows this, so she forgives James initially, but decides that it's going to be best if he stays with Ed while he's here. So James, who was intending on staying with Dee Dee, grabs his stuff and fucks off.
So Adam is not living with Dee Dee anymore. When did that happen? Oh, no, because when Joel moved in, Adam moved out. That's right.
Yes.
And nobody has moved in since the death of Joel. You'd think somebody
Adam
would be...
is staying with Daniel now.
Or is he staying with Alia? Where is Alia staying?
In our grand's house.
Yeah, it makes more sense for Adam to stay with her.
Yes.
Especially since Yasmin is gone.
Yasmin. On Wednesday, Dee Dee's the social worker is there to see that she's still up for the adoption thing and they're ready to meet some prospective parents. Dee Dee is keen to get the ball rolling. Later, she runs into James and Nina's roles and he overhears her talking to her new best friend Sarah about meeting the new prospective parents and he offers to go with. She says that she doesn't need his help though, she can do this herself. Although Sarah later agrees to go with instead on the proviso that she stops pushing her family away. Oh, fuck off, Sarah. Let her push her
Seriously,
fucking
Sarah.
family away. They're awful.
Yeah, and you push your family away all the time, Sarah. Shut up.
James had gone away but has come back and is shocked that Sarah's going to be going with Dee Dee. And Dee Dee's just about had enough of this pish and tells James that it might be a great idea if he goes back to that London. Later, Sarah and James meet behind Dee Dee's back in the Rovers.
Why?
He tells her about his and Danny's plans for adopting the baby and how they were going to adopt a baby and it fell through and it's broken both their hearts. Sarah advises him not to give up and not to go back to that London. Dee Dee will come round, she says. And that's as far as we get with that story this week.
Fuck off, Sarah.
This is none of her business.
First of all, it's none of her business. And second of all, it's not her body. And it's not her demon spawn.
Nope.
It's like poor Dee Dee, she gets all the support from all of the other women on the street, from Bernie and from Debbie and from barmaid, Blousy. Glenda. For some reason, I was trying to call her Melinda, which I knew was wrong.
She does look like a Melinda.
It's the hair.
If I can be a little crass.
It's the boobs.
It's her bosom. Mm-hmm.
Yes. It's very nice. A+. I'm assuming all of this will be cut out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
You'll end up being surprised at what I keep in.
Yeah, I'm disappointed at the stuff you keep in. But so all of these other women are being very supportive of her. And then Sarah, who's supposed to be her best friend, and I still don't understand how that happened.
Oh, it happened organically. She was on set that day.
Paul died, so Dee Dee needed a new best friend, and it may as well be Sarah, I guess. Because, they became best friends during the whole Adam thing, which was ridiculous. Remember that?
Which one?
I don't remember. Anyway. So for Sarah to go behind her back, and just ignore the sisterhood and say, oh, if you keep heckling her, eventually you'll wear her down. And then she'll say, yes, you can raise my baby. I can look into the eyes of the predator I almost married, on family Christmas. Mm-hmm. Sure, why not? What is wrong with these people?
Because it very much feels like this is what's going to happen. Dee Dee's going to be worn down, probably not nearly taking as much time as you would think it would.
Ugh.
And she'll give into this dreadful idea.
Why does she have to meet prospective parents? Why is that a thing now? It didn't used to be a thing. You didn't have to meet prospective parents.
Do you know, I used to be an expert on adoption, but I've kind of let it go.
Once upon a time, they never, you could sign something that said that they would never reveal your identity to your offspring.
All you need is a picnic basket and a fire station.
That's right.
That's all you need.
That's all you need.
You don't even need the Dalmatian anymore. The Dalmatian's already there.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely.
I worry that this is going to be the direction it goes in because this should be a story of Dee Dee taking agency over her future and her body.
Right.
And being autonomous in those decisions. And here she is being hectored by her dad, hectored by her brother who only now decides to show up. And even Ronnie was a little bit, family's only doing what they think's right, even when they're doing something that's wrong.
Yeah.
You can give them the benefit of the doubt and say they think that they're doing the right thing, but
They're not doing the right thing.
Who's going to Ed and going to James and saying that Dee Dee's doing the right thing?
Right, yeah.
Ronnie's not going to do that.
And let's not forget, Ed was 100% fine with Dee Dee getting an abortion. He was 100% fine with her getting an abortion. And that would have taken his quote-unquote grandchild away as well. So he's fine with that, but not with adoption. It's so weird. It makes no sense. If you're okay with Dee Dee taking control of her body one way, you should be okay with her taking control of her body in another way. Mm-hmm. You're not going to be there in the delivery, pal. You're never going to see this kid. So get over it.
I really, really hope that it doesn't go the way that I'm assuming it's going to go, because if it isn't going that way, why else is James back?
Right.
And I wonder how long he's going to be back for. If this
Probably not if he's moving to the United States of America.
Is he going to be doing that, though?
Danny's already here. Filing his asylum papers.
He's making a beeline for Canada as we speak.
That's exactly what's happening.
Which is what we should be doing.
Right. Seriously. But, yeah, this kind of explains the new face, doesn't it? Because one would imagine the old James, they approaching him and saying, oh, hey, we want you back, but only for like a week or two. No, thank you. I don't want to come back just for a week or two.
See, I was just assuming that he was going to be back for a bit of a longer stint. But then I'm remembering Sarge. Remember Sarge?
Oh, I try to forget.
He came and went pretty quickly, didn't he?
He did, because he had to go back to Jamaica.
Mm-hmm. To his restaurant or whatever it was.
Right, yes. His food truck.
He had a food truck.
He was starting a food truck.
And he needed Ed's money.
That's
and Ed
right.
was busy gambling at that time. So.
Right, yes. So Ronnie had to pay him off.
Best laid plans. All right, let's move on.
Oh, dear God.
Our next storyline is Vallies of the Ken doll. On
only
Monday, I was
the Ken doll doesn't show up at all.
terribly confused about this. Because I thought last week Amy and Ken had gone to Lake Windermere.
They did. And Steve. They're all gone.
But
that's
on Monday,
why the only thing. That's
on Monday,
why the
it's
other
Amy
thing.
that's there, though. And she's getting ready to go and see Ken. But I thought she'd already gone.
Right, yes.
Amy has sympathy for Cassie's plight, but Tracy tells her to get a fucking grip. Meanwhile, it's Evelyn's birthday.
Huzzah!
Tyrone and Fiz got her a pen.
A fancy pen.
It's still just a pen, though.
Yeah, but it's like a fancy, expensive pen. Some of those pens are like over $100.
It's a pen.
It's an expensive pen.
But Evelyn would far prefer that they forgive Cassie. Tyrone
Which, what?
isn't impressed and wonders why Evelyn has changed her tune after years
Yeah.
of badgering them about
Yeah, I'm wondering the same
Cassie.
thing.
College has made Evelyn woke, and she warns Ty that if anything happens to Cassie, it'll be on his conscience now that Cassie's clean. But Cassie's not clean. She's fucking filthy. And now she's on the phone to her dealer. Evelyn goes to Nina's rolls and talks to Roy with his new haircut and talks to Nina about Cassie and how this has made her studies seem quite irrelevant. Roy asks her out for a birthday meal, and that puts something close to a smile on her face.
Aw.
Later, Roy is at the precinct and sees Cassie's deal going down, and he intercepts and threatens to call the police. Threatened by Roy's lovely new haircut, the dealer scarpers
And Freddie.
with Cassie's money and then shoves her against the wall,
Yes.
where she has a bit of a headwind of the week, doesn't she?
Yes. Headwound of the week.
Somebody on Twitter this week said, you know what you guys should do? You should do a headwind of the week because it happens all the time. And I'm like,
Do you not listen to the podcast, pal?
we do headwind of the week.
We do.
Sometimes we do necklace of the week. Necklace of the week.
Yes. Yes. I was kind of thinking about how much I missed Necklace of the Week.
That one week that we did necklace of the week,
Was
it
hilarious.
was just beautiful. There were so
comedy
many
gold.
lovely necklaces.
Comedy gold.
Very niche comedy gold.
Yes. We could do knit cap of the week this week. Because now that Cassie's living on the street, she has to wear a knit cap all the time.
Oh my god. Oh my god. She's got the fingerless gloves on.
She's got her harmonica. She's got her little bag tied to a stick.
She's got greyish stubble.
She's lit a
She's only-
fire.
She's been on the street
Heating up a can of beans.
for 18 hours and she's already degenerated. She's got a little handkerchief tied in a bow and a stick over her shoulder.
I already said that.
Did you?
Yes. Ball on a stick.
Oh, that's what that was?
Yes.
I'm supposed to get handkerchief tied in a knot from
Yes.
ball on a stick?
Her little cloth of ball on the stick with all of her belongings
The cloth
inside
is an important descriptor. I would have understood what you meant if you'd said that. So now I'm going to have to take credit for that joke.
No, because I started it with a knit cap. Sorry, that's my joke.
You made it better. Roy helps her recover because she remembers she's been pushed into a wall and she's got headwind of the week.
Right, yes. Yes, she's been shoved into brick.
Roy helps her recover and takes her to the medical centre so he can show off his new
She's
haircut.
an accidental Chesney.
So he's late when he gets to the bistro for Evelyn's birthday and explains about Cassie's running with a brick wall. Meanwhile, Cassie has let herself into Tyrone's and looks like she's about to steal Ruby's iPad, but decides to go through Fiz's purse instead.
Why
when
is
she's
Fiz's
caught,
purse there without Fiz? Fiz doesn't take her purse with her when she goes places? What's wrong with her?
and Ruby doesn't take her iPad,
Well, that makes
and
sense.
everyone's phone is just lying about.
I like Ruby's iPad though. It was very cute, like with a pink cover with Ruby written on it and like little stars and stuff. It's very cute.
We need more of Ruby.
Yes, I would like to see more of Ruby, please.
Ruby was another one who, when they changed her head, they said her name over and over again.
That's true. Yes, and it was Glinda who did it because they were at Little Big Shots. Remember Little Big Shots? What happened to Little Big Shots?
She bought it over and it's never been mentioned again.
I know. Are all the kids too old for it now? They had Joseph. Was it Joseph?
Joseph was singing a song and
He was singing a song.
bless his heart, he can't sing. So anyway, remember, Cassie's trying to steal money out of Fizzy's purse and she's caught by Evelyn. The two of them sit down and chat about Roy and his haircut and her dalliance towards the muck. Evelyn reminds her of her 18-month sobriety and wonders what it'll take to make it stick this time. Cassie admits that she was poisoning Ken with a clear head and how she's a scumbag on smack or off it, so she might as well be on it. She explains about Tracy's ill-advised twist of temptation, and this gets back to Ty and Fiz, who don't think Tracy's actions are important, so Evelyn says they either let Cassie back in the house, or she'll fuck off and she won't be back. She can't bear the thought of Cassie relapsing, and that's what's going to happen, so she will give up her family, and give up her grandchildren, and her studies, to keep her daughter clean.
Her great-grandchildren. Let's remember that this is the woman who told Tyrone his mother was dead. She told Tyrone his mother was dead and did not look back and did not look for Cassie, assumed she was indeed dead, and just wrote her off. And now she's preaching to Tyrone about how he has to give Cassie another chance after she nearly killed Ken. And Hope is already on the wrong path. Let's spur her along a little with Granny Cassie, shall we? It is very unfair of Evelyn to do this to Tyrone and Fiz, who are finally actually being parents and responsible.
Yeah.
She's as bad as Ed and James.
I suspect that Evelyn just wants to be able to go back to college with a clear conscience.
Well, maybe she should drag Cassie with her.
But yeah, it makes no sense that this is what changes her mind. Despite the fact that Cassie's had a job working at the garage and Evelyn was just waiting for her to fail. Cassie was brought into the house and Evelyn's just waiting for her to fail. And now she tries to kill Ken and now it's not, well, now you've failed.
No. It's like, I'm going to guilt these people into taking care of her.
I do think, though, it's motivated by her desire to do what she wants to do while you wrestle with your headphones that have somehow fallen off your head.
And onto my chin.
How does that even happen?
I don't know.
And your glasses didn't move.
No.
You know, Because she historically has been the person that takes Cassie away, goes cold turkey, does the old train spotting, putting the panels of wood over the door so you can't get out and all that sort of stuff. And she can't do that because she's at college.
Right.
So she needs someone else to do it.
Right.
Because while she's talking the talk of letting Cassie go, she does seem to take some joy out of watching Cassie fail. But she also doesn't want her to fail to such an extent that she's
dead,
yeah, or
but
somewhere else.
But yet again, let's remember that eventually she did write her off and accept her as dead and told Tyrone his mother was dead because of all of this. It makes no sense for her to be like this now.
So Evelyn tells Fiz and Tyrone that they would stand by Hope and Ruby, but mostly Hope, so they should also do that for Cassie. Fiz decides to leave it up to Tyrone to make the decision, and he, of course, folds like a cheap suit. Cassie can come back. Tracy buying heroin for Cassie has got back to Amy, and she's hacking furious about it. Tracy denies it at first and then can't be bothered and just admits it. And it's also got back to Ken, who phones her from the Lake District to throw her out of the house.
Yeah, which
again.
is hilarious. Oh,
yeah, it's been a week or so since Tracy's been thrown out of the house.
Just wait until Ken finds out what happens later in his house. And to his nice new clean blue shirt.
Yeah, he's not getting that back.
Nope.
On Tuesday, Cassie is doing her damnedest to be useful and pleasant and is not fooling Tyrone, who sees through what she's doing and why. He tells her that if it wasn't for Evelyn, she wouldn't be here and she'd be finding somewhere else to live and maybe she should get a fucking job. Later, Tyrone is throwing out all the booze in the house and he criticises Evelyn for abandoning him to look after his mother. Evelyn tells Tyrone to go fuck himself. She's your mum, she's family, you need to take care of her. So when Cassie comes back home, Tyrone is far softer with her and they resolve to do their best to make this situation work. And that's as far as we get with that this week.
Yeah, rubbish.
And it's a shame because we love Evelyn and
we do
love to see Evelyn coming back, especially when we weren't expecting to have her in the show right now.
Yeah.
So this was an unexpected
a lovely new
return.
haircut as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. She's gone all bohemian on us.
But she's been used very oddly.
Yes.
I think to say it mildly.
Correct.
I did think it was funny though about Tracy. So, no, I didn't give her drugs. Don't be silly. Oh, of course I did.
Yeah.
She can't fool Amy.
No.
It's always good to get Tracy and Amy scenes though.
Yes. Even though Amy's supposed to be, by the lake with her dad and granddad. Because Steve was going to go and meet them, and they were already there.
I was confused by what happened last week.
Yeah, so yes, we have a continuity error, but it was for the greater good, I think.
Yeah, they realised if everyone's in the Lake District, there can be nobody here to argue with Tracy.
Right, except over the phone.
So Amy, get back here.
And now, go back.
Right.
Because we need the house empty for another storyline.
Yes.
Oh, my God.
Leave that shut. Oh, no, it's okay. We've got on the Kents. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we'll move on to the next storyline, which is Who Da Daddy. On Monday, Daisy's having a hard time coming to terms with the fact that she's no longer pregnant. Daniel promises to support her no matter what and suggests having a memorial. Daisy mulls it over, then goes to see Kit to float the idea to him. Kit could not give a fucking shit one way or the other.
Well, either that or he gives too many shits and does not want to show any vulnerability.
That is a difficult word to say.
In front of Daisy or Daniel. Probably more Daniel than Daisy.
Yeah, old Alpha Daniel.
Yes.
So the memorial is Daisy, a late Daniel, a plant, and an open flame in the backyard of the Rovers.
Yes, and a wee white teddy bear.
But their moment is interrupted by Mick and Lou, who aren't really interested in the memorial, so Daisy loses her temper with them and throws them out.
Yeah, Lou finally notices the teddy bear and stuff and says, no, shut up, Mick, let's go. So she does show a little bit of empathy there. It just takes her a while.
There's an odd place to have it, the backyard of a pub, which has an entrance on it.
It was either that or the community garden.
Which is why the community garden's there. It's for memorials and for Kirk to preside over illegal weddings.
And occasionally a fox, although we haven't had a fox in years. What happened to the foxes? Remember when foxes showing up in the community garden were was used as a metaphor repeatedly.
Oh, God, that's going back. There's animal metaphors in the community garden.
Animal metaphors in the community garden.
That's
were
how
fun.
you know it's a metaphor, is when an animal's involved.
Yes. Especially a fox.
Daisy thinks it's lucky that Kit wasn't there, as he would have sparked a pair of them out.
Yeah. And Daniel's like,
Unlike Daniel, who just watched it happen.
yes.
Later, Daisy meets Kit in the yard of the Rovers again. He doesn't know how he feels about all of this. Daisy thinks it must be confusing for him, given how all of this worked out. And it's okay to grieve. Kit looks like he's okay not to grieve. Thank you very much.
Yes.
And that's confusing for Kit, because Daisy told him that the baby wasn't his, and then it was his,
And then it
and then
died.
it wasn't a baby anymore.
Right. Yeah.
So that is, I think, the definition of a roller coaster of emotions.
Yes.
So you think he really does care?
I think he does a little bit. I mean, how can you not?
I don't know. People.
It is a weird thing though, because like she said, she's not really grieving the baby necessarily. She's grieving a future that now will not exist.
Yes, it's the promise of something that's been taken away.
Yes. And I can't imagine how that feels, considering, as evidenced by the phone call earlier, I have successfully birthed 3 children.
Yeah, I remember my ex-wife had a miscarriage, and I was upset about it, and she was able to rationalise it more as just a kind of chemical reaction, and I think I had more of that feeling of the promise being taken away. So I can kind of see where both of them are coming from.
Right.
A bit. And everyone's different how they react to these things. So.
Absolutely.
But I thought it was nice of Kit to go back, and it does
Right.
show a more vulnerable side to him.
Yes.
That he does his very best to
hide.
keep under wraps, because
Yeah.
he has to, because he's a copper.
Right.
He can't be going around crying on everyone's shoulder.
Tough guy.
Yeah, he's got to be a tough guy, and he's
He's a tough
exceptionally
guy.
tall.
He is exceptionally tall.
So to see an exceptionally tall man cry,
Yes.
I think it just stands out a little bit more, doesn't
Yes.
it? If he was a wee shorty, it would have been fine.
Unless it's Doug Jones. When Doug Jones cries, it's fine. But then again, he's usually like in a fish costume or an alien costume.
Who?
Doug Jones. He was the fish man in Shape of Water, and he was also the Pan Labyrinth guy, and he plays an alien in Star Trek Discovery stuff. He's also
He
very
cries
tall.
a lot, does he?
He just looks very emotional.
Dressed as a fish.
That fish did cry.
It's an
Didn't he?
emotional fish.
Yes. And he also had sex with Sally Hawkins.
Even the cake's in tears.
Yes.
Oh no, that's the end of a different joke.
Yes.
Never mind.
Never mind.
Let's move on to Stabby Dylan on the inside. I still hate this,
I do too.
and I would actually love just to skip over it,
Yeah, it would be nice.
but we won't.
Boo.
On Tuesday, Sean is off to see Dylan in the STC, like anyone cares. I certainly don't. Sean thinks that he's adjusting well, but really he's joining in with the other lads by taking the piss out of Daniel's attempts at teaching. Daniel isn't impressed and has a word with Dylan, warning him about Brody, but Dylan tells him to suck his balls.
And also, Daniel, kids on the outside do the same thing to you, so shut up.
Yes. Case in point, Max,
Yes.
who hated your guts.
And tried to drug you.
Later, as visiting is coming to an end, Dylan leaves, and then Brody tells Sean that he better be bringing a burner phone in with him the next time he's here, or Dylan's going to get it, see? Sean
Don't
is...
they all have phones in their rooms? Like, attached to the wall? Why does he need a burner phone when he's got a phone attached to the wall in his room? I suppose the burner phone, nobody's going to be listening into his conversations.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm sure he's got a complicated or a sophisticated code that he can be using to get it past the screws.
Whatever.
Who all seem to be teachers who don't care.
Yeah, pretty much. Because where are the guards when Brody goes up to Sean and, is speaking to him in this way?
Well, there's a contrived fight, you may remember, that that
Yes,
distracts them all.
There's only one guard in that room.
They're kids. So Sean
Yeah, there
is
should be 20
Sean
guards.
is shocked to his core about this. And later he talks to Daniel about his worries about Dylan when they're in Nina's rolls later. And Daniel explains that Brody is bad news. He keeps on coming back. That's how he knows that he's a failure, is when the kids that he teaches keep on coming back.
Yeah.
He says that he's keeping an eye on the
There
situation.
are other signs, Daniel.
He says he's keeping an eye on the situation by boring them all about the Sopranos. But Sean...
Right, this whole analogy of the Sopranos being like Shakespeare.
Mm-hmm.
And also totally getting the theme of the Sopranos 100% wrong.
Well, you see, you know that Daniel knows what he's talking about because he's walking as he's talking.
Right, yeah.
That's how you know that teachers are really into it.
Money can't buy
When they
you
walk.
happiness. Yes, that's what the Sopranos is about.
What would you say Sopranos is about? I haven't seen it.
Which is weird.
I saw the first episode. I liked it.
Yeah, it's good.
Not enough to watch the second episode, though.
It's good. It's about family and depression and the mob
Universal themes.
and strippers.
Oh. Well, colour me interested. It turns out that Sean's got a stash of burner phones in his locker at the factory, and he grabs one of them on the way home. What's he do with a phone in his locker? Did he maybe buy it and then put it... I'm so confused.
Is it from when he was homeless? Remember, Sean used to be homeless. Remember that?
Farm to Carol?
Best not dwell.
Okay. On Wednesday at the factory, Izzy is a calm voice of reason, explaining to Sean that he can't take a phone into the STC, and even if he does, he'll be Brody's bitch until the end of time, or he'll be behind bars himself. So when Sean visits Dylan again, he explains what happened, and he's going to report the situation to the screws. Dylan begs Sean not to and says that he'll take care of it himself. Sean insists that Brody is not his mate. Later, Brody and his goons go to Dylan for the phone, but Dylan puts him straight.
It's just one goon.
Look, there won't be a phone, but no one's going to grash anyone up, so let's just leave it at that. And Brody pretends that he's okay with this, but he's obviously not. And later he trashes Dylan's room. Sean gets wind of this, but Dylan apparently is taking the blame for the trashing of the room, saying that he just lost his temper. He wants Sean just to leave it and to let him handle it. Brody is happy that Dylan took the blame for the room thing and tells him to get Sean to get him the phone as he owes him for the spliff thing, even though Dylan has literally just repaid that by not grassing him up about the room thing. Sean tells Izzy about the developments and has decided to stuff a phone up his arse after all. And that's as far as we get with that this week.
Ugh.
How's Sean going to get a phone in there?
He's going to get caught. Because he's Sean.
That might be the thing that makes me interested in any of this. If Sean gets caught and he goes to the STC.
Well, he wouldn't go to the STC. He'd go to
Well, I know, but it would be
grown-up
funnier
jail.
if he did go to the STC. He's sitting in a small desk and chair wearing his taxi jumper.
Or the one with the peacock feathers. Whatever happened to that one? Remember I was going to buy you one of those? But they were like $120 a
Thank
piece.
Fuck for that.
It would have been funny. It's too expensive for a joke, though.
This is so uninteresting.
We've had this story before.
We have had this story before, and if you think that we haven't had this story before, just think back to Mason. And every time Sean was talking to Dylan about Mason, and he would say, "This'll be that Mason.
Right.
This'll be that Mason." Well,
Uh-huh.
now he's saying,
This'll
"This'll be that Brody."
But also, we've had bullies in prison before. You know, and it wasn't Dylan. It was like Max and then Roy and all the other people who've been in prison. Johnny, remember when Johnny was bullied in prison with his pretend cat?
Yep.
And Gary had to save him because Gary was also in prison at the time.
This show's just so fucked up. Really, when you think about it.
Well, at least, you know, they've gone from everybody goes to prison to now it's everybody goes to the hospital. or the cop shop, but not necessarily to prison. Yeah, this show is fucked up. Let's talk about something else.
Yeah, this is just dreadful, although it was nice to see Izzy.
It was. It is always nice to see Izzy.
Our next storyline is Fuck You, Coronation Street.
Yes! Fuck you in the ass.
Oh. Taking it to a whole new level
With
of aggression.
a pitchfork.
Oh. On Tuesday, in Nina's Rose, Brian is singing the praises of Julie and reminiscing about how they used to be an item and stuff.
And wearing an ascot. Is he wearing the ascot yet?
Yeah, meanwhile, Debbie has dropped into streetcars, furious that her cab hasn't shown up. Eileen doesn't have it on the list. Debbie now needs to reschedule her plans and takes it out on Eileen. And this argument is carried into the Rovers, where Debbie shouts that she's under stress because her brother has cancer. Well, so does my sister, shouts Eileen. And this is overheard by Brian and Julie, who are both shocked that Eileen has broadcast this. Privately, Julie apologises to Brian, but didn't want her cancer to be the only thing that they talk about. Brian tells her that
Brian proceeds to talk about it.
Tells her that she's the bravest woman that he knows and wishes that he'd been a better person to her.
Person. She's the bravest person that he knows. Not just woman.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Ditto, says Julie, and she's glad her life had Brian in it. Oh, dear God. Back home, Julie reveals how she isn't the bravest person Brian's ever met and confesses to Eileen that in actual fact, she's shitting herself terrified, and Eileen comforts her. On Wednesday, Julie takes Eileen out for lunch at the Rovers under false pretences because Todd's there too and Julie wants to talk funerals, specifically hers. Eileen makes all the excuses under the sun to avoid the topic. Julie insists on talking about her cremation, but Eileen wants to wait for George to arrive because he's the head undertaker guy.
And
Todd
Todd's like,
insists that he's fully
I'm
qualified.
fully qualified to do this. Thanks a lot, Mom.
Eileen continues to make excuses rather than just saying how uncomfortable this is making her feel. And eventually she goes home to put the tea on, which finally lets Todd and Julie talk. Back home, Eileen explains how she's struggling to cope with this to Todd, who recommends, well, maybe you should talk to Julie about this. The situation calls for honesty, he says. So when Julie comes home, that's what they seem to do over a delicious shepherd's pie. But Julie promises to talk to the boys about the death stuff, and she'll focus on the life stuff with Eileen. So they don't seem to have handled it after all, and will continue to brush it under the carpet.
Yeah.
And that's as far as we get with that this week.
Yeah, that didn't look like shepherd's pie they were eating. It looked like a salad. But apparently Eileen makes really good shepherd's pie.
I can believe it.
Yeah. I think they're going to Paris because Eileen mentions Paris and how much Julie has always wanted to go there.
Gay Paris.
Yes. For Julie.
And the Folie Bergère.
Sure.
And Le Moulin Rouge.
With the windmill. They're going to travel the world together. And that's how Eileen's going to leave the show. And then maybe she'll come back after Julie dies. We'll see.
I wouldn't hate that.
No. I still hate the Stabby thing. And we'll talk.
Well, we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that even more.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Apparently people are so mad about it, which is good because we're mad about it.
I did feel sorry for Brian, I guess. I feel sorry for Julie, obviously, the most, because she's the one that this is impacting. But Brian seemed to be putting a lot of effort into maybe trying to rekindle something there with Julie. And it was nice how, despite all the water that's flowed under the bridge, they've managed to come to these sort of conclusions with each other that, you know, they were important to each other and they care for each other. And maybe the moment has sort of passed now, and the way that fate has dealt Julie this card, thanks to the writers of Coronation Street. Anything more than just a friendship is unlikely.
Plus, Mary is right there. You assholes.
But it's a strange kind of regret, isn't it? That when you think of something that could have happened and didn't, and then the opportunity presents itself again, but it's already a dead end before it becomes something else. So even though you knew that this was unlikely to happen, there was a possibility of it, and now the possibility of it's also gone. And I thought that came across quite well in the scene with Brian and Julie together. And I think for a moment that Brian was about to start crying.
That would have been nice.
Would have been nice. All right, we'll move on to our next storyline, which is fuck you again, Coronation Street.
Fuck all the way off.
This is our penultimate storyline. We've been flying through this tonight. On Wednesday, Ronnie and Debbie are being deplorable in Nina's roles together until Debbie reveals that she's moving into number 13 to look after Jack while Abby and Kev are in Blackpool, and she's sure that she's told Ronnie this and he's just forgotten it. This is the first that Ronnie's heard of it. Debbie gets a call from Rafael at the rape hotel. Rafael at the rape hotel? Yeah, that could be a song. Telling her that the power is out and Ed is nowhere to be found. It's Mick who shows up. He's an electrician. He shows up to look at the fuse box, and Debbie is in no mood for chit-chat and points him in the general direction of the problem. Ronnie isn't too impressed with Mick's reputation, but Debbie doesn't care as long as he can get the power back on. Later, with power on, Debbie finds Mick munching on a lasagna. It seems there was nothing wrong with the electrics and it was a planned outage, and Mick says that Debbie should have been told about this. Debbie says that she has been told no such thing. Mick presents Debbie with a £300 call-out fee.
Which is robbery.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we got stuck for 175, but that was at the weekend.
Yeah.
And I think it was Thanksgiving weekend, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
You still hate getting hit with a call-out fee, though, especially when there's nothing that they can do.
Right.
Or there's nothing that they have done, which is the case here.
Yes.
She goes Raj and throws him out, saying that his beer and lasagna is payment enough, seeing as he didn't actually do fuck all. Back at the Rovers, Mick sees Ronnie and tells him to sort this missus out and get him paid. So when Ronnie speaks to Debbie, she says that she's paying Mick a lesson for the exorbitant fee. Ronnie thinks that she's made her point and maybe she should pay up after all. So Debbie agrees to pay him, but only gives him half, seeing as he got a man to explain the situation to her. Mick isn't happy about this and promises that she's made an enemy. So Ronnie escorts him back onto the street. And that's as far as we get with that.
Yes.
Yes, the outrage at this storyline, I think, is continuing.
Yeah.
And
the show doesn't care.
And rightly so. And no, they've made up their mind. And they've already now started the ball rolling.
Yeah.
Even though they've proved with the Gale stuff that they can make changes midstream, if you like. They had an opportunity to undo this, and they absolutely should have, because I don't care how well Sue Devaney is going to play this, and she will play it
very well.
Very, very well indeed. I don't care.
Yeah.
This shouldn't be happening.
Yeah. If it
this
means
is a dreadful idea.
If it means she's going to leave the street, then no, we don't want this.
It has no merit.
No, none whatsoever. None.
Even in this fleeting appearance on this week's show, because this was just really Wednesday, wasn't it? The way that she was going on about Rafael, who we've never heard of before, but I feel like I know him, just from her shouting his name 3 or 4 times.
Yes.
It was hilarious.
It was.
It was one of the best things that happened on the show this week.
And this whole outage thing makes no sense, because surely other people would be aware of a planned, rolling outage in the community during this time and would be able to figure that out. Because it's not like it's only the hotel that has this planned outage. It would be everything around it as well.
Don't hotels have backup generators for this kind of thing?
One would think.
I don't know that power cuts typically affect hotels. Maybe they do. I don't know. If you've ever been caught in a hotel in a power cut, let me know.
Yeah, like, a rolling outage because of energy use and stuff. I mean, it happens in California all the time. I'm sure it happens in Manchester.
Once more with feeling.
But
the specifics of this aside, this is just
a dumb story that we hate.
A hateful story to do this to two characters that we love, because this is going to affect Ronnie as well.
Yes. And Kev.
And Abby. And Jack.
And Jack, yes. And even the what's the kid's name? The baby?
Alfie.
Alfie, yes. What's the matter, Alfie? Auntie Debbie.
The way that I remember that it's Alfie is that it's not Bertie. That's how I remember that.
I was like, it's not Bertie, it's not Bernie. It's It's not Harry.
Debbie is one of the few characters that is a legacy to the past, to the classic Corrie that everyone loves and yearns for.
Yes.
She's a link back to that. And even though she was only in it for a short period of time and she's been out of it for years and years, she's still that link back to it.
Yes.
Because she's played so fucking brilliantly.
Yes. Yes.
And she represents that strong, that really strong, proper strong female character. Who's taken no shit off this asshole.
No.
And not going to be paying him his 300 quid. And it's Ronnie who kind of caves and says, oh, maybe you should pay him after all.
Yeah.
Yeah, slap
You
his
don't
ear
want to
and-
make an enemy on the street, sort of thing. Fuck off.
Well, he doesn't want to make an enemy out of her.
Right, yes, because, like, she owns all these hotels that we only get to see at one of.
She sold all of them.
Did she?
She had to sell them all. She's only got the rape hotel left. And no one's been raped there in ages. So whatever she's doing it well.
She's doing it right, yeah.
I really, really hate that we're continuing down this road. I think it should have been stopped. And, you know, you've got Eileen who wants to leave the show. You've got...
Helen Worth wanted to leave the show. Patty Bever wanted to leave the show.
You can't give him dementia, though. Sue
No.
Cleaver wanted to leave the show. Sue Cleaver wants to leave the show.
Right,
A dementia storyline there.
right. And then Julie doesn't have to die of cancer. Who did she piss off?
I don't expect the show to bow to every fan decision. I think we've said something along these lines before, but when the strength of feeling is so universal...
When they're getting petitions that
When
we
it-
both signed.
When a petition or two is floating around for this, and I've seen people that everything that the show posts on social media, and it doesn't matter what it's about,
Yeah,
people jump on and
Say.
call them a shower of bastards for doing this to Debbie.
yeah. Yep.
And I approve.
Yes, I heart every single one of those.
As far as this week's episode was concerned, she's her usual strong self. Mick's shown himself up to be a really unpleasant person. There was the stuff with
We already
Chesney.
knew
Well,
that.
there was the stuff with Chesney when they started, and it seemed that it might be a little light-hearted, but it's not. He's an asshole,
He is an asshole.
and it's different from the kind of Les Battersby neighbour from hell, who was a hooligan and a drunk and a terrible dad and a slob. But
Overall, he was a nice guy.
apart from his horrible comments to Haley, he wasn't really evil. I can see this Mick character being evil. Let's move on
Yes.
to our final storyline tonight. Is Brother, Can You Spare a Kidney?
Well, this is going to take a while.
This is where all the time that we've made up gets lost. No, let's focus.
Okay.
On Monday,
Swain.
Betsy is now skipping college full-time, which Carla disapproves of, but Swain seems happy just to let this slide. Swain's becoming a bit of a walkover.
She was always a walkover. But, you know, I do understand the whole PTSD that Betsy's going through over the whole... She's terrified that Rob's going to be, like, right outside the door,
And you know,
ready to murder her.
I'd have sympathy for that if it wasn't for the fact that we've just finished with Abby having PTSD over the Mason stuff. So this kind of feels bandwagon jumping. And I've kind of got no time for it. And plus I don't believe it of Betsy.
It's kind of nice to see Betsy being vulnerable and not like this kid who thinks that they can just get away with shit. I approve.
Yeah, but she does get away with shit. And she always gets away with shit. She got away with it with Joel and never seemed to faze her all that much.
Right, yes, but now it feels like she's finally being scared straight.
An old man with missing a kidney is the thing that's making her
Who has
terrified.
murdered people before?
Look at Joel.
Joel never murdered anybody.
But look at him, though.
Rob is scary. He's scary. He looks scary.
He looks dirty. That's what he looks.
He looks like...
He looks smelly.
He looks like Paul Rudd if Paul Rudd didn't have a decent diet and exercise regime for the majority of his life. He looks like if Paul Rudd had been run over repeatedly by a train and was a heroin addict.
I don't know if you're being particularly kind to Mark Bayless or particularly unkind to Paul Rudd.
Little bit of column A, a little bit of column B.
Although the picture that I'm looking at of Mark Bayless, if you squint your eyes a little bit.
Yeah, he does look a little like Paul Rudd. Only like
he looks a bit
worn.
like Paul Rudd, but he also looks a bit like Paul Mescal.
He looks nothing like Paul Mescal. You need to stop this. Although you didn't call Brody Paul Mescal this week, and
that
I
was
appreciated
for you.
it.
That was entirely for you. Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Carla decides to work from home to keep an eye on the skiving little shitbag. Meanwhile, a nuppety customer has come into the factory to complain about something, so Carla has to go in and leaves Betsy lazing on the couch. Gen Z, man, fucking hell. On her own, it's Betsy's turn to have...
Is she Gen... Yeah, she is Gen Z. She's not Gen Alpha. Never mind.
On her own, it's Betsy's turn to have flashbacks in a psychotic episode. Maybe don't watch war movies, love. She calls her mum and hides in the corner of the flat when the Amazon delivery driver knocks on the door. Swain leaves all of Weatherfield's criminals and rotters to run riot and goes home to sit with her daughter, who worries that she'll never be happy again. Swain is shocked
That's what she said after Mason died.
Swain is shocked to discover that Carla has fucked off to work. So when Carla gets home, Swain is heckin' furious that she left Betsy to be terrified of a van driver. Carla explains how full-time jobs work and that Betsy's going to need to put on her big girl pants. And if Swain is so worried about this, maybe she should hurry up and catch Rob. Fucking hell.
Yeah, seriously. It's like, initially she didn't want anybody to stay with her to begin with. Carla volunteered.
Mm-hmm.
So Swain needs to back off.
Mm-hmm. On Tuesday, they're both so concerned about it that they fuck off and leave her again. I mean, it's... What is it with Monday that's so special?
I don't know.
Anyway, on Tuesday, Betsy is still uncertain about going outside, but this doesn't stop Swain and Carla fucking off and leaving her alone for the second day running. So let's hope that the Amazon Prime guy doesn't show up again. Carla heads to Nina's Rolls and gives Roy a ride to the hospital where they see Mandy the Randy prison guard. She's lurking outside.
Yes, with a black baseball cap on and sunglasses, like she's like fucking Sandra Bullock or something.
I wonder why people think that a black baseball cap makes you invisible. Carla calls Swain to tip her off and to let her know. Roy offers to perform a citizen's arrest, but Swain would rather that he didn't and heads off to do a proper arrest. Once Swain arrives, she sits with Carla on their stakeout at the hospital.
With Roy in the back seat.
And then he just goes home because he feels like he's a bit of a gooseberry.
Right, yeah, and because he needs to relieve Nina so that Nina can go and be kind to Betsy.
Just at that, Mandy comes out and Swain is about to bring her in when Carla talks her into maybe she's going to lead them to Rob. Swain remembers that she's the copper though and brings Mandy in anyway, promising that she'll use her expert skills at interviewing to find Rob. But Rob, meanwhile, is in the ginnel and he confronts Tracy, who's taking out the bins, and he convinces her to take him in as he knows the house is empty. He wants to explain everything. According to him, Carla tried to kill him and she left him for dead.
Yeah, after you kidnapped her and took her out of the hospital and nearly killed her. Shut up, man.
And nearly killed Swain.
Yeah.
He's got a fake passport incoming and just needs to lie low for a bit. He's having a hell of a time with his lack of kidney and is looking fucking awful, so I'm not sure how foreign travel is going to suit him. But Rob says that Tracy is his last chance and he was the one who came back to rescue her and failed his escape plan as a result. He also mentions how he heard of Amy's rape and hoped that he'd get a chance to kill Aaron. Tracy wants to put all of that behind him. Rob wonders if she's evolved, if she's suddenly become a Pokemon, but she agrees that she owes him
and that was funny.
A place to stay for tonight. And no funny business.
Hearing old raggedy Paul Rudd talk about Pokemon.
Paul Rudd who's let himself go. Of course he collects Pokemon cards. Paul Rudd would never collect Pokemon cards.
Paul Rudd absolutely collects Pokemon
Paul Rudd,
cards.
who's let himself go. He collects them, but he also uses them to clean his teeth.
Did you see that the picture of Paul Rudd dressed up as Weird Al for Halloween, taking his daughter trick-or-treating, and his daughter's dressed as the Wasp, and her dad, who is literally Ant-Man, is dressed like Weird Al instead?
No.
It's adorable.
Swain's interview techniques do work, and we learn that it was Becky who was pregnant with Betsy.
Yeah. Yeah, we did learn that.
Or, because she's not specific, she doesn't say when my wife was pregnant with my daughter. She says when my wife was pregnant.
Come on.
I know.
Maybe it was Swain's egg, though. Maybe it was Swain's egg, and it was implanted into Becky.
Oh, could be.
Yeah.
But I always assumed that
it was
Swain who
right,
gave birth.
because they look alike.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which
We
is why
said this from day one.
This, it was Swain's egg.
Maybe. That would explain it. I like how we just get these little bits dropped in.
Right, here and there.
Mm-hmm. Mandy admits to seeing Rob last week, but doesn't know where he currently is. But there's one thing missing from her house when you left.
Dum dum
Dum, dum,
dum.
dum. Back at number 1, we see what that is. With Tracy heading off to bed, we see that Rob has got a gun. So how many guns
Rob has
did...
got a gun. What is that?
There's still a little bit of Mongolian throat singing going on there. Didn't know I could do that. Mandy had a gun at the hospital.
Right, and it was a different gun.
And this is a different gun.
Yeah.
So she's got a collection now.
So because the gun at the hospital was bigger than the gun now.
I'm not sure that it needs to be a different make of gun, but it's definitely a different
gun. Yeah.
Why is Mandy collecting guns all of a sudden?
Yes, and how is she collecting guns? She's stealing them from work.
Maybe? I wouldn't have thought there's that many guns at work either.
Yeah. In a prison?
So Rob's got his hands on a gun anyway, and I bet you it floats. While all this is going on, Nina pops in to see her new best friend Betsy and arranges to meet for a drink later, seeing as how she's an expert on the fear of leaving the house following the Seb stuff. So despite Betsy's concern, she meets with Nina, and she and Glenda give her some pep talking about not letting men intimidate them. Here.
Yes. And it's nice because it's like 3 different generations of women like bonding over how much men suck.
On Wednesday, next morning, Rob is firing through the antibiotics like they're going out of fashion, and he's still looking like he's going to die, and that's before Tracy threatens him with her scrambled eggs. She wants him...
But not like that.
She wants him out before Ken gets home. He needs to pick up his passport, and he needs Tracy to do it for him. Tracy obviously doesn't want to, but it's the only way to get Rob out of the house. Tracy is the only person Rob can rely on. Meanwhile, Swain is annoyingly fretting about using the word gun in front of Betsy. Carla has no such qualms. In the meantime, Tinker's looking for clues in Mandy's flat, so they'll have Rob in custody in no time. Either that, he'll be dead. Meanwhile, Betsy reckons that she's lucky to be alive, now that she knows that Rob's got a gun. Tracy picks up the new passport from the alleyway of doom, and she's spied by Mary, who wants to shout at her about giving Cassie drugs. Tracy has no time for this, says that she has soup on the hob, and hurries home. When she gets back, Rob's deteriorating quickly in front of her, and hits Tracy up for some painkillers. During all of this, Mary turns up at her door to shout at her again, not believing the soup story.
Because nobody has soup for 11s. She's suddenly a hobbit.
People do have soup for 11s. I mean, normally you'd have a little sweet treat. Or you'd have a cup of tea and a biscuit.
Yeah.
But you can have a soup. It's
Right.
an early lunch.
Or the soup could be stewing for later. It could be simmering. What's wrong with you, Mary?
Seriously. But she's looking for cover for her so she can go to the dentist.
Yes, because all of a sudden a crown has fallen out. She didn't mention that when she was yelling at her like 5 minutes ago in the street.
No, she's eaten an Eccles cake since. That's what's happened. Tracy pretends that she's getting her whole off of Tommy O to get rid of her.
Notoriously hard Eccles cakes.
Well, Rob tries to sneak out the back, but he overexerts himself, bursts his stitches again or something, and is near passed out in the kitchen as he points a gun at Tracy when she comes back in,
Right.
thinking that she's the filth or something.
The back door is locked, so he goes to try to open a window, and that's when his
Yeah, because he's going to climb out of a window.
Right?
Look at him!
And then, like, when he collapses, he notices the key, the skeleton key, on the counter, but he can't reach it because he's dying.
When he sees it's Tracy, he insists he wasn't going to shoot her and it's just for show or protection, and he gives her the bullet clip and then starts a frankly unbelievable line to encourage Tracy to leave the country with him. Are you on fucking glue, says Tracy.
Thankfully.
He tells her she has nothing in Weatherfield anymore and they're the only people who understand each other.
Amy.
And do you have any yogurt? Rob.
I'm still hungry.
Rob fucking loves yogurt, but it makes him quite sentimental. And he thinks to the good times that he and Tracy had. Tracy really just wants him to leave. And yet he doesn't leave and demands more yogurt. Rob's looking like he might bleed out while Tracy books him on an unspecific ferry tomorrow. Tracy,
Right. She has her phone out to do this. She has her phone out. This is when you call 999 and just leave the phone on the table for the 999 person to hear this person threatening you and stuff. Or send a quick text to Carla. Your brother's here. Come on, Tracy. You're smarter than this.
all she has to do is pretend to order a pizza.
This is the thing that's so frustrating for me, is that Tracy is a smart cookie, and she's acting kind of dumb here by giving into like all of these demands from a man who can barely stand and is bleeding out.
Tracy sees the bleeding this time while Rob makes hilarious generic pain noises. Meanwhile, CCTV has picked up Rob at a ferry terminal a few days ago, and while there's no footage of him actually getting on it, Swain is now sure that he's out of the country, and she tells Betsy and Carla this so they can sleep more soundly, and then they argue about pineapple and pizza.
Yeah, for some reason they're eating Hawaiian pizza. And why?
Why does anybody eat Hawaiian pizza?
I don't know. Nick likes it, but he likes pineapple. And he's weird.
Maybe there's something in that. So Rob's still at number one though, while Tracy wraps Ken's shirt round his wound, which oddly seems to kill the pain. Tracy doesn't know how he'll get on a ferry like this and wants to call the cops. Maybe a yogurt would help, he says. So Tracy's a fucking hell and goes off to the fridge to get him another fucking yogurt, while Rob loads his gun with a spare clip. And Tracy is remarkably calm about having a gun pointed at her, as Rob demands her phone and demands to see Carla. And that's how we end this week's episodes. It's so stupid.
It's so stupid. The kidney people are never going to work with the show again. This man should be dead. He should have been dead days ago.
When did they fall over the
like
banister? It was the middle of February, wasn't it?
It was like over a week. It was like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, it was more than 2 weeks ago.
He should be dead.
He should be dead. This wound must be just
disgusting,
oozing pus at this point.
Right? Yes. Which is why I was so grateful when Tracy goes to lift the shirt that Rob says, no, 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 no. It's like, oh, thank God we don't have to look at that. Because it's got to be disgusting.
All
this man
Rob does
should be dead.
Is make just the most ridiculous, over-the-top pain noises. And fair enough, he must be in an awful lot of pain right now. But if you're in that much pain, you're not thinking about getting a passport and getting out of the country.
On a ferry, no.
Because your choices are go to the hospital or die.
Yeah.
Even if going to the hospital means that you're
going
to go
back to prison. It won't be for a while because you're near death, pal. You'll be in the hospital for a while.
Get a ferry. Sea burial, is it? Is that what you're looking for?
Aye.
I thought Tracy was quite funny with this, so she did recognise the fact that she owed Rob a favour from the past when Rob stopped her from going to prison. So she realises that she's got an obligation to him. And that obligation was, you can spend the night. But then the next day, when she's looking to book him a ferry, it's for the next day.
Right,
So
yeah. It's kind of like...
When's Ken getting home? Because this is all getting rather tight now. And you're going to have to get the smell of Rob out the house before Ken gets home.
Shoving lactose-free yogurts at him. And it's like, there are so many opportunities for her to get help. Like, the first time Mary stops her in the street, she could have gotten help from Mary and none of this would have happened. The second time when she goes out to confront Mary, like she leaves, she shuts the door. She goes outside with her hair like in a towel and a robe on. She shuts the door.
Gonna have to speak up. I'm wearing a towel.
Yeah. She could have said something then. She had her phone in her hand. She could have done something then.
Yeah.
This man is very weak and tired. You could have shoved him out easily.
Do you know what? I think a punch to the side might just finish him.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even have to be that hard.
Yeah. You've killed before, Tracy. You can do it
Kill
again.
You have our permission. Because while she does have this feel of obligation to him, she's Tracy. She's putting herself first, obviously. And in this situation, who can blame her?
Right.
She wants to get this cat. I'm
Out.
going to call him a cat. She wants to get this cat out of number one
That is
as quick as possible.
an insult to cats.
So yeah, she's going to get on the phone at the first available opportunity. The fact that Rob got up the stairs to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
The process of getting up the stairs and the process of doing the bathroom and getting back down the stairs nearly killed him as well.
Right, yeah. No, none of this makes sense. This man should be dead already.
All you have to do really, Tracy, is keep him happy. He's not going to make it through the night.
No. It's a miracle he made it through the night before. He's bleeding out all over the couch. All over Ken's shirt. There's like a bucket of like rags or something just covered in blood.
That's all lovely stuff. Oh, jeez.
Put him out of his... Give him one too many painkillers. Just shove them in the yogurt. He falls asleep. He's gone.
Check that cupboard, because Cassie's antihistamines is probably still in there.
They've got to still be there somewhere.
Probably still there. Get him good and drowsy.
Seriously.
Wheel him out onto the street.
In a wheelbarrow.
Pour him onto the cobbles.
That's right. Call the cops.
Do this.
Call
the cops.
Yeah.
That's all you have to do, Tracy.
All you have to do.
And if you don't know how to do it, get Cassie in. She knows how to do it.
She does.
Make her useful.
Yeah. Ay.
So next week, I think I've seen enough to know that there is a bit of a showdown between Rob and Carla.
Yeah. How do they get Carla in that house?
And I'm not
Hi, Carla. It's your good friend Tracy. Could you come over? I could use a cup of sugar. And I don't want to walk across the street to the Allahans. I'd rather have your sugar.
I'm not sure what we're thinking this poor man's Paul Rudd is going to be able to do tomorrow when Carla comes round and he can't see straight enough to aim the gun at anything. How is this situation?
Will punch him in the side.
How is this
Tracy
situation going to be
it.
threatening at all?
No.
I have no idea.
No.
But I've been thinking that this has been on the cards for a couple of weeks now. It's always seemed like we were building up to another big week. And it feels like next week is going to be the other big week where there is some kind of showdown, maybe even a hostage situation.
Yeah.
It's getting quite unbelievable, though, the longer this goes on.
Yeah, the man should be dead already.
At least they're making him look like he's on death's door.
Yeah. But he's still able to, like, lean over and put bullets in a gun.
And try and make a case for him and Tracy running off into the sunset together
Yeah.
while he can't stand up.
Right. Yes. And then at the end of the week, next Saturday, we get to watch the real Paul Rudd get stabbed by a unicorn.
Was that next weekend?
Yeah, remember? There's like a million movies.
So many movies coming out next weekend.
Yeah, and none this weekend. What is up with that? Except for Snow White, which we're not going to see.
It's apparently terrible. I think we need to go see it.
CGI dwarves.
No.
CGI.
CGI minors. They're not called dwarves in this. It's Snow White and the Seven Minors.
What, they're
They
all
look-
under 12?
They look fucking
Terrible.
terrifying. Not terrible, terrifying.
Right, yeah.
Like some kind of waking nightmare that she's in.
Meanwhile, all of the out-of-work little people in Hollywood are saying, thanks a lot, Peter Dinklage.
Yeah. Well, you were warned. Oh well.
Oh, well.
That was the week that was Coronation Street. Helen, tell me, what was your moment of the week?
Is it Glinda and Nina and Betsy and the sisterhood? Or is it Debbie and Glinda and Dee Dee and the sisterhood? We've got these two very specific scenes where women talk about how terrible men are.
That's what you're going for, is it?
That men are terrible, yes.
I mean, Roy got a haircut for nothing. Cassie banged her head on the wall. We're forgetting all about that.
Roy offers to make a citizen's arrest. I think that may be boring moment of the week.
Roy's sitting in the back seat, I think.
It's hilarious.
It was so funny, though.
Ah.
Because it wasn't a bad week.
Except for
A lot of it was stupid, and a lot of it I wish wasn't happening, but it wasn't bad.
it wasn't terrible. We've had worse weeks.
Last week was the worst week.
No guns floated.
No.
No, it wasn't last week. It was a couple of weeks ago when Rob took a dive off that staircase.
I'm sure that was like a month ago.
And the fire was terrible.
Yep.
We've had worse weeks than this.
Anyway, we're talking about moment of the week here.
Yeah.
So, take your pick.
What do you think should be moment of the week? You can't fucking be bothered, can
Seriously.
you? Okay, Glinda, Nina, and Betsy. The sisterhood is our
Moment of the week.
moment of the week.
And the boring moment of the week, I think we've agreed, is Roy in the back seat of that car.
Roy offering to make a citizen's arrest.
That was funny though, wasn't it? It was funny.
Him just kind of just sitting there in the backseat of that car was kind of funny too.
Oh, wasn't he talking about something? He was talking about something. He was talking about something like historical. What was that last week?
Oh, you know what was boring moment of the week? Daniel talking about The Sopranos.
There we go. Yeah,
I hate it.
I loved seeing Roy sitting like he was on a ride along. That was actually quite good.
Okay, so yes, Daniel talking about The Sopranos.
Boring moment of the week.
And according to you, getting it wrong.
Of course he does. Like he knows any Italians.
What about Brian's cousin?
Did
Remember
Daniel
Isabella?
Did Daniel ever meet her?
Yeah, they exchanged phone numbers and everything, didn't they?
I don't think so. Whatever happened with her? Like she went back to Italy and was never spoken about again.
The person whose idea it was came down from their meth high and realised it was a terrible idea.
Yeah. And then was fired or given a promotion. I don't know which.
I think you do know which.
And then wrote the Addie and Courtney Boobs storyline. Remember when we thought that Brian was going to stoop his cousin?
I don't think I did.
I thought we talked about it.
I
How
think-
it was kind of weird that it kind of seemed like they were, like she was seducing him. It was weird.
Oh, as I'm looking for the poll, I came across the tweet from Swain_Connor, which I really liked this week. It was a real life Monopoly Cheaters edition. So, Carla was robbed by Stephen, who was robbed by Daisy, who loaned money from Daniel, who loaned money from Bertie to loan Daisy, who was blackmailed by Shona to pay off Harvey.
Yeah.
Are we still following?
Yeah.
when I was going through that little thing last week about the guy with the hotel and the £100 that just...
Right.
I kind of had this idea and I wish I'd done it, but Swain_Connor beat me to it and did a wonderful job of it.
You know what was nice this week?
What?
Not a mention of Harvey.
No.
And only one Platt.
Absolutely.
Evil dies tonight!
Nope, wrong button.
Yay!
So every week we ask our Twitter followers what they thought of this week's episodes and to categorise it as yay, meh or zzz. Zzz got 26.7%, meh got 26.7% and yay got 46.6%. So hitting the right notes with quite a few people this week. Anne wrote, on the whole, I thought all the episodes were better this week. Highlights Roy and Swala stakeout, Mary and her teeth issues, and Julie and Eileen convos. Also, I feel there could be a future tension with Swala over pizza toppings. Negative, too much stuff in the STC. I agree with that.
Yes.
Laws writes, the Rob stuff is utter dross, as is James coming back for Dee Dee's baby, but I did like the scenes we had this week of Glenda, Julie, Mary plus Evelyn and Cassie. So there were some positive comments this week. We don't always get that, but hey, we don't let that influence our scores this week. So Helen, I invite you to rate this week's episodes out of 10. Last week you gave it 5, I think.
Yeah. Last week was better than this week, wasn't it?
I know, I think it was better this week.
5.5.
It's a 7 for me, I think.
Oh, really? That high?
I laughed quite a bit at it.
Rob!
Yeah, but I laughed at it. I don't mind it being rubbish when it's funny.
You thought Rob was funny?
The noises that man was making just cracking me up. Oh!
They weren't quite that extreme, were they?
There was a couple that were borderline on that. I think we better wrap this one up.
Yes, please.
So, this episode was brought to you with thanks to our friends of the podcast. Daisy, French Helen, Pickles, DT, Wendy, Noel, Canadian Helen, Christy, Shandy, English Victoria, Aurora Yvonne, Heather Westerfield, Russell Whiting, Jackie B, Brittany Porter, Laurie, Anna, Tina, Stephen, Leah, Tara J, Fiona B, Canadian Jennifer and Josephine Otinji.
Whew!
Whew, and breathe. If you've ever overdosed on yogurt, write in to tell us about it. We're the Talk of the Street at gmail.com and we're at Corrie Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Threads and Blue Sky. Or reach us the old-fashioned way, the Talk of the Street, P.O. Box 12, Eaton Rapids, Michigan 48827. You can shout me and Helen a coffee or become a friend of the podcast by heading to ko-fi.com, that's ko-fi.com/the Talk of the Street, or patreon.com/the Talk of the Street. Check out voggle.co.uk for links to a merch store, YouTube channel and blog. And if you're so inclined, please leave a rating and a review on the iTunes or your podcast provider of choice. And be sure to check out our pop culture sister podcast, The List of Lists.
It was the Battle of the Nepo Babies.
Thanks for making it to the end of another episode, and we will be back next week with more
I'll Talk of the Street.
The Talk of the Street.
Bye.
Cheerio.